a little bit of a good news, bad news scenario. We have news coming out from Bloomberg that Chris Cox talked to them, the CEO of Hasbro, and he's talking about they are actually in the process of testing a digital version of Commander as a separate game from MTG Arena and MTGO. So, what does that mean for us? Well, there's a few things, good and bad. I'm kind of leaning on the bad side of the fence. So, let's talk about that today. Let's first start off with the fact that they are looking at a digital version of Commander that is operating, but it's not going to be part of Arena. Now, why is that? Well, more than likely, they didn't state it outright. They just can't figure out how to integrate more than the two players that it was designed for originally. The client is about 7 to 8 years old at this point, and it's just not capable of handling additional code without breaking everything in like a cascading effect. So, what they're probably going to end up having to do is either rebuild from the ground up in something completely different, or what I would want them to do, and this is the reason I stated this on Blue Sky yesterday, that I really would wish them just to build Arena from the ground up, taking into consideration all of the varied formats, Modern and Pioneer, Commander, and then all the stuff they already have installed in there, and redo the client where they can actually import the client data that's currently existing, your collections, your username, all that stuff could be ported over to a new Arena 2.0, and we can actually have our collections intact and do that. But the bad part is I don't think they're going to do that, because that does not make them more money, which is all the whole reason why they want to even do this in the first place. Because they said in the article that there's two things that Arena does not accomplish for them. One is they're not monetizing Commander at all, because they don't have it. The closest thing we have is Brawl in its varied forms of either standard Brawl or historic Brawl. Or the other thing is they're not monetizing the collectability aspect, because there's nothing really inherently collectible about Arena. It's a closed environment. It's money going in and there's no money able to come out of it. You can't trade with anybody. You can't dust your stuff to try to get other things. And the card styles that are on there for the most part are just kind of There's the parabolic 3D effect where it looks like it's moving around on the page. That's not really all that special. But what they're trying to do is they're talking about making it so that the client can accept things like the secret lair skins on the cards themselves, because we haven't actually seen any of that stuff show up on the cards. The closest we've gotten is like the secret lair sleeves that are on the store. You can actually do the sleeves that have secret lair art on them. That's not the cards, though. We also don't have access to things like Commander precons or any of that stuff. We've gotten like little snippets of those with like cards that were in those precons, and they released small bursts of either the face commanders on there or like the special reprint new art frame stuff from like in Bloomberg. And that's about all we've gotten out of it. We didn't get anything for Duskmourn from any of those precons. So it's just, I really wish we had a better way of going about this. You don't need to screw the player base to get this to work. You would engender a lot of goodwill by making it so we could keep our collections intact from Arena, especially those who have been playing for years, and actually bring it in. Because right now it leaves a real sour taste in my mouth that I may have to basically start over from nothing to play this new Commander game, essentially, quote unquote. And that even, it's kind of weird because it may be years before this even comes down. They're just testing this now. We may not see this game for another 3, 4, 5 years. So in the meanwhile, we're sitting here still, building up our Arena collections and playing the game and doing all this stuff. And then all of a sudden they rug pull us and that's it. It's done. Because if this comes out and this is successful, Arena is dead. It's not going to work. It's going to die, because what most people have been wanting from Arena is the ability to play the other formats with Modern and all these other things. MTGO is also going to get screwed, because right now you can play Commander on MTGO, but it was never built for it originally. They just kind of stapled it on, and it doesn't really work that great. There's a lot of priority pass issues and things like that, which again, that might actually still be an issue with whatever new interfacing that they come up with, because you still have to give your opponents the opportunity to respond to whatever you're doing or whatnot. And I'm not sure how this is going to work. And this has always been kind of an inherent issue behind having a multiplayer format version of this in a digital client. Because if you are already infuriated by your opponent's roping or by your opponent's not paying attention to what's going on or whatever the case may be, that's going to get multiplied by 3 additional players in the game total. So you're going to have 4, well, actually it's 2 additional. I missed talking here of players in that game. So you got to wait on those 3 players to pass priority on every activated ability, every spell you cast. You have to make sure you're paying attention to everything that they're doing to pass those priorities. If you have mana untapped or an ability that can be activated in response to something they're doing, there's just a lot of things that this could turn into a disaster, and it may never work. It's hard to say. But I mean, the good news is we're going to get it eventually, if they can get it to work where it's not like super annoying to play with. But then also, there's one other aspect of this that some people have talked about online, but not everybody. And that is the social aspect of Commander. Now, when you show up to a Commander game, whether it's at your LGS or with your play group, there's people joking around, they're playing, they're talking across the table, they're doing all the, the fun interactive stuff. You're not going to be able to have any of that if they're not going to give any kind of like either a voice chat or at least a chat window like they have on MTGO. But the problem with that is you invite like random strangers into your play group area, and you're going to get a lot of toxic people kind of mixing in, and it's going to be feels bad because frankly, sorry, there's a lot of assholes on the internet. I'm not saying that anybody out there is, but people can do that, especially if they get a little butt hurt during a game. There's just a lot of that stuff. There's also issues that are inherent with people scooping because, if you've been on an arena, you got people that they just give up. They don't like what they see across from the table, especially in like Historic Brawl, where they're like, oh, I don't want to play against that. And they'll scoop and run. Makes it very difficult to record videos sometimes when they do that stuff. But that's not something you guys have to worry about unless you're a content creator as well. But, if you're trying to hold a 4-player game and then you constantly have people leaving the game, it's going to make for a lousy gameplay experience. I'm not sure how they can enforce that and make it so people have to stick around and not scoop out of games. If they make it so you can't scoop until like the 5th or 6th turn, I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. Sorry, this is a little rambling. I'm kind of talking off the top of my head. I didn't have much time to write up any kind of thoughts. I'm just kind of waxing poetic here right now. So with that said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think of this new idea of a second game, basically an MTG Arena 2.0, whether it's exclusively for Commander or if they're going to actually build it so they can support everything? Do you think it's going to kill Arena and MTGO? Do you think, they can kind of coexist, or what do you think is going to happen? And as always, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.